Hello everybody, I'm Rusty. I want to welcome you to Island Breeze Tropicals. So today we're going to be looking at some interesting bromeliads that don't necessarily look like they are bromeliads. So you know what? The sun is shining, the island breeze is blowing. It's time that you and I got growing. Come on, let's have some fun and let's look at some bromeliads in disguise. So you know, bromeliads comprise a huge number of plants, and they're not all the same. Now, this is what we think of when we think of most of our bromeliads, that they are tank-type epiphytes. You can see the tank, we call that the cup, and that they have a rosette that looks similar to this. But because it's such a huge family of plants, there are some that don't fit the bill, and I call these bromeliads in disguise. So why don't we look at a couple of them? So the first one I want to show you looks nothing like a bromeliad, certainly not the tank type that we're all used to. And it's in the genus Puya. And this is Puya mirabilis, and you can see it looks very, very grass-like. Now, Puya is a genus that comes from lower Central and South America. It grows in fairly arid conditions. I'm going to show you a close-up of this. So this is a close-up view of the Puya, and you can see it has pups, but it has a very interesting pseudostem. I'll turn this around here, and we'll see if we can zoom out a little bit and give you more of what the plant looks like. And it's very, very interesting, but it certainly doesn't look like most of the bromeliads that most of us are used to seeing. Now, this particular species grows Argentina and Bolivia. So this entire genus comprises of 226 species, and they grow in arid regions. Actually, in this genus, it has the largest bromeliad. So there is a Puya that takes the crown as being the largest bromeliad. So the next one I want to show you is a really toothsome little thing. This is called Dikia, and that's the genus that it grows in, and as you can see, it is really, really toothy. Look at all those teeth. Now, Dikia grows mainly on rock outcroppings where it can be seasonally wet and then seasonally dry. Kind of makes them a challenge to care for, but just don't overwater them. And there are a huge amount of them. We're going to do a close-up of these guys. I want you to see the spines. And as you can see, this does not look like our usual tank-type epiphyte, does it? And I like my bromeliads pretty mean, and boy, you can't get much meaner than this. This is a Dikia. This is just a hybrid. It's an unnamed hybrid. And as you can see, it doesn't have any cup. It looks almost agave-like, but it is not. So Dikias are found in South America, generally growing on rock outcroppings. Sorry for the jerky thing there, trying to keep it in frame. They look like they grow in the desert, but they are used to arid conditions, and then they start looking really, really bad. And then along comes a wet season and they rehydrate. So they are thoroughly wet and thoroughly dry for part of each year. So some of these look quite alien and un-bromeliad-like, but I can assure you that they are. This is called Aerococcus, and as you can see, it doesn't look much like a bromeliad, but in fact it is. It's a species that comes from Brazil, has a nice little inflorescence on it. I'm going to show you that in just a sec. Okay, so as usual, I mispronounced the name of this plant. It really is Aerococcus, and it grows in South America as a total epiphyte on trees, And again, take a look. It doesn't look like a tank type epiphyte at all, but it does have a really nice berry type inflorescence. And if you take a look right there, you can see that it's green and has some pink in it. It also has some tomentum, which may be specialized cells, like some of the genus Tillandsia. It may actually help the plant to absorb water. So this one looks even more alien. This doesn't look like a bromeliad, and it doesn't even look like some of the other ones that I just showed you, but this is Spanish moss, and Spanish moss is in the genus Tillandsia. They are bromeliads. And Spanish moss is native to the United States and grows all the way up the East Coast into temperate regions, almost as far up as coastal Virginia. And now this one looks even less like a bromeliad, and for those of you in the United States, especially on the East Coast, you would know this. This is Tillandsia usneoides, and it is commonly called Spanish moss. It is not a moss. It really is a bromeliad, believe it or not. And it's kind of hard to see, but you can see that this is comprised of different rosettes, and they're all connected together, and so that's what gives it the moss look. And there are about 560 some different species of Tillandsia, and a lot of hybrids too. And finally, here is a very, very popular genus, and this is called Cryptanthus. And the name implies that it has a hidden flower. Now, as you can see, this doesn't have much of a cup to it. This is Cryptanthus elaine, which is a cultivar. Now, this is a young Cryptanthus. It's called Absolute Zero, and it will get to be about the same size as elaine. So as you can see, it doesn't have much of a tank, so it does look a little alien, doesn't it? So this is Cryptanthus. This is Cryptanthus elaine, and as you know by now, when it has a name like that, it means that it is not a species. You will not find this somewhere out in the wild. But gee whiz, take a look. Isn't it beautiful? It is a cultivar, of course. Now there are 41 species of Cryptanthus, and there are 479 different hybrids. Now this is a smaller Cryptanthus. This is a young one. Just to show you some of the differences in color, this is another hybrid, and this one is called Absolute Zero. Sorry for me shaking back and forth. I'm trying to look at two things at once. That's not working. And you can see that it does have a little bit of a cup, but not by much. And these are also commonly called earth stars, and you can see why in the shape of the plant. Now, Cryptanthus are a little bit more terrestrial in their habit because they don't have much of a central tank. So anyway, guys, that's it. I hope you like looking at some of the bromeliads in disguise. They go all the way from being very, very beautiful to being very, very alien-like and very, very mean. So no matter where you are, I hope your sun is shining. I hope you have an island breeze blowing. I know that you need to keep growing. Have lots of fun. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.